Discover the heartwarming journey of the unexpected farmer who changed 2 million lives forever. Jack Thompson never imagined he'd find himself on a weathered tractor, dirt caking his hands. A banker turned farmer, he had traded his crisp suits for worn jeans and a faded flannel shirt. At 38, he was back at his childhood home, a dilapidated farmhouse that echoed with memories of his father's stern lessons about grit and resilience. In a world where skyscrapers and suits defined success, Jack now faced a harsh reality. He was jobless and desperate. His father, a stoic World War II veteran, had always preached self-reliance. Asking for help was weakness, he said. Jack remembered those words all too well as he stepped into that creaky old house. The walls whispered of arguments and estrangements. A family feud turned bitter. Walking through the front door felt like stepping onto a battlefield, reminiscent of tense nights spent in silence. But the need to eat was greater than his pride, and he came home, kicking up dust as he took the first steps into a life he never wanted in this small town. Poverty hung like a heavy fog, threatening to stifle hope. He met Maria, who ran the local food pantry. A tenacious single mother wearing a heart on her sleeve, she faced hunger head-on daily. She'd say with a fire in her eyes, hard work means more than just financial success. Her dedication ignited something in Jack, an urge to change, to reconnect with what mattered. For him, success was once measured in bonuses and walls of glass. Now it felt like tilling soil and planting seeds. The first days were brutal. Cramped hands ached as Jack hoed the ground under the scorching sun. Doubt gnawed at him. Could he really farm? Yet, each seed planted was a flicker of hope, each sprout defying the odds. Slowly, he found joy in the rhythm of labor, in the feel of warm earth beneath his nails. However, whispers of judgment from those wealthy elites haunted him. They noticed his efforts and dangled potential profits in front of him. The idea of transforming his farm into a farming paradise tempted his inner banker, stirring conflict in his chest. Then, tragedy struck. A storm swept through, fierce and unyielding. Jack stood at the shattered remnants of his crop, hands shaking as despair seeped into him like rainwater. The community depended on this land for their meals, and now, their hope lay in ruins. The weight of it all pressed against his heart. He stared at the wreckage and felt like a child in front of his father, seeking approval he might never earn. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. With murmurs of doubt swirling around him, Jack gathered the townspeople. Their faces were a mix of worry and determination. "We're in this together," he said, eyes glistening with emotion. "Let us plant again, rise again." It was a moment of unity, hearts synchronized against adversity. But outside pressures loomed large. The elites scoffed at their small efforts, questioning their worth. Jack's heart raced. Could they truly reclaim their dignity? As seeds of hope began to push through the soil once more, Jack found himself on the front lines, battling not just for their crops, but for a cause larger than himself. He felt the pulsing heartbeat of the community around him. Would they rise against the storms, both literal and metaphorical? In this fight for food justice, Jack's journey was just beginning. The days that followed the storm were nothing short of chaotic. Jack woke up early, the sun barely peeking over the horizon. Shadows clung to the corners, as if they too mourned the destruction. With each passing day, his resolve solidified. The fields around him bore scars, but Jack saw more than devastation. He envisioned growth. Maria supported him every step of the way. She was the heartbeat of the town, rallying the community to come together. "We rebuild, we restore," she'd say, her smile infectious. Her faith in Jack stirred something deep within him. They spent long hours planning, sketching ideas in the dirt, their laughter rising amidst remnants of sorrow. The pantry still buzzed with townspeople who came seeking food, but now they were also dreaming, ready to dig deeper than the surface of soil. Each morning, they gathered in the field, hands joining to plant anew. The scent of fresh earth mixed with the sweat of labor, creating a fragrance of hope. Jack watched the townspeople's hands work, calloused palms displaying years of struggle and endurance. He felt their spirit infuse the soil, long before any seeds had sprouted. They spoke of resilient stories of their past hardships, and how this time they wouldn't just rebuild. They'd rise stronger. But the elite didn't disappear from Jack's mind. Their polished shoes trod a world where success was counted in bank accounts, not bushels of corn. Doubts crept in late at night, stealing away precious sleep. Should I take their offer? He'd ponder, thoughts churning like the clouds that had once unleashed chaos on his farm. What did it mean to take money from those who looked down on the very people he fought for? One night, as Jack lay awake, Maria knocked softly at his door. "You've got to see this," she said, excitement quivering in her voice. They stepped outside, the night sky sparkling with stars. Word had spread about their initiative, and the townspeople were gathering. It was a ragtag assembly. Children running, adults chatting, and laughter rising into the crisp evening air. In that moment, Jack felt a warmth wash over him. Tears stung his eyes as he realized that this was more than planting crops. They were planting hope, dreams, and a vision for a better future. He joined them, becoming part of something greater than himself. They shared stories, ideas, and laughter, but also dreams of a community united in purpose. Every laugh felt like a seed, the energy palpable. Together they were a garden of resilience. Soon, they began inviting neighboring towns to join in. The first harvest festival was scheduled, a gathering to celebrate not just food, but the spirit of their unity. Jack poured all his energy into this festival. He arranged for local musicians, planned activities for families, and set up booths for fresh produce. There was an electric thrill in the air as they planned. But as the festival approached, Jack faced a new challenge. Would the elites try to sabotage their gathering? Would they attempt to undermine everything he'd worked for? Uncertainty shrouded his heart. As the days melted into one another, anticipation grew. Jack stood in his fields, feeling the pulse of the earth beneath his feet. Would this festival be the turning point for his community? Would it empower them? The air was thick with possibility. The morning of the festival dawned bright and clear. Jack wiped his brow, the sun warming his back like a gentle hand. He looked around at the tents springing up and the laughter of children echoing in the fields. This was their moment, but just as the butterflies in his stomach began to rise, a shadow appeared on the horizon. Who was coming? What would happen next? As the shadow lengthened across the fields, Jack squinted against the sun. It was hard to tell from a distance who approached. Excited chatter faded momentarily as anxious eyes turned toward the encroaching figure. Jack's heart drummed in his chest. Was it the elites, perhaps even the very faces that had made him question his path, showing up to knock them down again? But as the shape grew clearer, Jack's breath caught. It was Emily, the mayor of the neighboring town, an unexpected ally. With her arms waving high, she was flanked by a group of children holding colorful banners. Relief washed over him, like rain after a long drought. "Jack, we're here to help," Emily shouted, her voice rising with the wind. "We heard about your festival and wanted to join in." She stepped onto the field, a bright smile on her face that lifted the spirits of everyone gathered. Murmurs of surprise filled the air. As she drew nearer, the community began to recognize familiar faces behind her families from nearby towns who had come to lend their support, bringing produce, crafts, and music. The festival was transforming before his eyes, becoming a grand celebration of unity. Jack felt a warmth inside, igniting his soul as gratitude flooded his veins. "Thank you, Emily," he called out. "We need all the hands we can get." Children leaped forward, eager to help, scrambling to set up stalls and hang decorations from the trees. Jack joined Emily, their laughter weaving through the crowd. "This town is something special. I senti it," she said, looking around at the connecting of hearts and hands. You sparked a fire, Jack. I just showed up, he chuckled modestly. It's these folks that are the real heroes. Together they're unstoppable. As the festival took shape, it breathed life back into the community. Music began to flow, drumbeats and guitar riffs mixing with the rustle of leaves. People were laughing, hugging, and reminiscing. The fear Jack had felt earlier evaporated. Instead, a sense of belonging blossomed like wildflowers pushing through cracked earth. But just as Jack started to relax, the sound of roaring engines broke through the festive ambience. The warmth in his heart began to chill as he turned toward the road. In the distance, a convoy of sleek black SUVs emerged. Their polished surfaces glinting under the sunlight, the elites had arrived. They're here, he whispered, dread creeping into his veins. The laughter faded around him. Faces turned somber, and the air thickened with tension. Would they come to support, or to quash this rising spirit? As the vehicles rolled to a stop, Jack felt a heavy weight settle on his chest. Emily looked over, concern shadowing her bright eyes. Whatever they do, we stand together, she said firmly, squeezing his hand, reminding him of the bonds forged in these healing days. Eyes narrowed, Jack faced the approaching figures, fists clenching at his sides. He wouldn't let fear take root. This festival was built on hope. It was about community. And like the harvest they eagerly anticipated later that day, their spirit would endure. What do they want? He murmured. In that moment, with the sun blazing overhead and uncertainty swirling around him, he realized he'd never felt more alive. Would they fight back? Would they show up to take away the one thing they finally brought back to life? As he stood on the threshold of something monumental, the answers held a weight that could tip the balance. Could this festival turn into a battleground for the future of his community? Jack's pulse quickened. The moment of truth grew near. The sleek black SUVs glided to a halt, and the air felt charged, electric. Jack's heart pounded in his ears as the doors swung open, releasing a group of well-dressed elites. They stepped out with the practiced ease of those who moved through crowds as if they owned the space. Jack swallowed hard. He could feel the tension squeeze the life out of the joyful festival atmosphere. People darted nervous glances at one another, whispers rippling through the crowd like a breeze disturbing still water. Focus on the moment, Jack told himself, his voice steadier than he felt. He scanned the area, taking in Emily, her expression resolute, and the children, blissfully unaware of the simmering storm. The leading figure, a tall man with slicked-back hair, approached. Jack recognized him as Andrew Carlisle, the town councilman notorious for his ruthlessness. Andrew's lips curled into a semblance of a smile, but there was no warmth behind it. Jack, he called out, voice dripping with a false charm. What a delightful gathering you have here. Quite the spectacle. Thank you, Jack replied, forcing the words through tight lips. We're celebrating our community. Community, Andrew mused, glancing around, his gaze chilling. It's an admirable notion, but I hope you understand that order is crucial. Jack's stomach twisted. He stepped forward, fueled by raw emotion. We're not out of order. This festival is about connection, about rising together as neighbors. A murmur swept through the crowd, emboldened by Jack's words. Andrew raised an eyebrow, taken aback by the response. But he quickly composed himself, an underlying threat woven into his tone. These towns, especially yours, need guidance. Too much freedom brings chaos, and chaos is inconvenient. Is that what this is about? Jack felt a surge of courage, enough to confront the oppressive weight they all felt. We're trying to build something here, something real. It's not chaos. It's hope. The energy shifted, the crowd grew bolder, rallying to Jack's side. He saw nods of agreement, people taking a step closer, as if forming a protective barrier around him and Emily. The laughter they shared just moments before hopped back up, igniting courage that brightened the fears lurking in their hearts. Emily spoke up then, her voice ringing clear and strong. Our community doesn't thrive on control, Andrew. It thrives on support, kindness, and collaboration. Jack turned to her, heart swelling at her fierce spirit. This was the fire they needed to stand against the cold hand of authority. The councilman's face hardened. This is all well and good, but I must remind you that regulations exist for a reason. A festival without permits is illegal. But it's not just a festival for us, Jack declared. It's a testament to what we can achieve when we come together. We're tired of being pushed aside. We won't let you undermine our efforts. A collective roar of agreement rose from the crowd, shaking the very ground beneath their feet. Jack could hardly believe it. The festival, this vibrant testament, was becoming a rallying point against everything that had held them back. Let us see how long that enthusiasm lasts when it meets reality. Andrew shot back, his mask slipping momentarily. Jack's breath caught. The uneasy tension pulsed like a live wire. Would they collapse under pressure? Would they let themselves be driven apart again? Together, he shouted, his heart racing. We can be stronger than one man's greed. As a wave of cheers erupted, Jack dared to look into the eyes of his neighbors. They were not merely spectators. They were warriors of hope. Hope could change everything. But would it be enough? With the elites encroaching and shadows looming heavy, the battlefield had been set. Jack felt it deep within. This fight was just beginning. The crowd swelled around Jack like a wave, unified and roaring with passion. Faces that were once masked with uncertainty glowed with a fire ignited by resolve. Jack felt the heat of their spirit surge through him. They wouldn't be silenced, not today. But as the cheers echoed, Andrew remained unyielding. His expression twisted, morphing from confident to contemptuous, as if he relished the descent. You think this is just a celebration? He barked, his voice cutting through the cheers. No, this is a declaration of war. And I don't plan to lose. Jack's heart raced. This was bigger than him, bigger than the festival. This was about their lives, their homes, and their future. Around him, he sensed Emily's fierce determination. She stepped forward, eyes locked on Andrew, unafraid. Then let this war begin, she declared. Her voice was steady, almost melodic against the backdrop of chaos. Jack felt a wave of admiration for her. She was not only his partner but the backbone of this community. The crowd responded to her words with resounding applause, an anthem of unity ringing out. This town belongs to us, a voice shouted from the crowd. A middle-aged man, Tom, wielding a festival banner, raised it high, a makeshift flag of defiance. And together we can't be pushed around. Jack glanced at Emily, a spark of recognition passing between them. They both understood that this moment had become a catalyst. We are not afraid, Jack echoed, sensing the chorus of voices swell around him. We stand for each other, for every child that deserves a bright future. The festival's spirit began to return, vibrant colors flashing as laughter started to blend with defiance. Kids began drumming on tables, clapping rhythmically, turning the tension into a celebration of resilience. Andrew's jaw clenched, his cool demeanor shattering. Do you really think this is going to change anything? He spat, eyes dark with anger. You overestimate your influence. The law will win out and you will be left with nothing. Suddenly, a brave soul from the back of the crowd shouted, We have each other. That's worth more than any law. The words hung in the air, stirring something deep within Jack. In his heart, he knew that their unity made them strong in ways Andrew would never understand. Jack turned to face the councilman, a wave of courage swelling his chest. What you don't see, Mr. Carlyle, is that we aren't just a community. We are a family, and families don't break under pressure. He glanced around, drinking in the faces of his neighbors. Their hope shone fiercely, a beacon against the storm. The sound of laughter mixed with determination rang loud and clear. Andrew huffed, visibly shaken by the strength he had underestimated. Let us see how far that family spirit gets you when the permits start slamming down. Jack felt the pang of fear race through him but stubbornly set his jaw. We'll face that challenge together. No permit can stop a united community. Just then, a loud crash came from the direction of the councilman's SUVs. sending a ripple of concern through the crowd. All eyes turned. Hardly a moment passed before a group of children raced toward the noise, their laughter piercing the air like arrows. Had the pot of hope truly begun to overflow? Was this just the beginning or a catalyst for real, explosive change? As the sound of cheers mingled with laughter and confusion, Jack could sense that the real battle was far from over. But one thing was clear. They were no longer just participants in a festival. They were warriors, hearts full of fire, ready to take on the world. And as darkness loomed on the horizon, Jack found himself questioning what sacrifices they would have to make to protect their home. As the tension released momentarily in laughter, Jack couldn't shake the pit in his stomach. The laughter of the children echoed around him, but it felt like a fragile shield against the storm that was brewing with Andrew. He caught a glimpse of Emily. Her face was bright, yet he could see the worry lurking behind her smile. They had ignited a spark, but would it be enough to keep it burning? Jack, Emily called, drawing him away from his thoughts. She waved him closer, her eyes shimmering with determination. But there was something deeper, something she almost hesitated to express. We have to think of a plan. We can't just rely on the crowd's energy to fight this. Jack nodded, his heart pounding. He had always admired Emily's practicality, her ability to navigate through chaos. You're right. We need to rally everyone. Turn this unyielding spirit into actionable steps. He could feel the weight of responsibility settle on his shoulders, but he also felt the thrill of purpose. Tom approached them, breathless with excitement. I've got an idea. Let us organize a rally, but not just a gathering. Let us make it a movement. We'll create signs, gather stories from the community, and show Andrew the heart of our town. Yes. Emily jumped in, enthusiasm replacing her previous apprehensions. We can combine it with the festival and invite everyone to share why this town matters to them. Get the kids involved too. They could draw pictures, share their dreams. It would be powerful. Jack's heart swelled at her words. Just thinking of the children, their innocence, their laughter reminded him why it was worth fighting for. Not just to win, but to create a future where their hopes could flourish. Okay, let us do it. We'll need volunteers. The more voices, the better. This isn't just our fight. It belongs to everyone. As they worked to gather volunteers, the mood shifted. The festival transformed into something more, an assembly of ardent unified voices preparing for war. Jack could see the kids decorating banners, parents stepping forward with their own stories, pouring out their hopes for the future. Each new voice added strength to the movement, building a tapestry of shared dreams. The air crackled with a new kind of energy. A woman stepped forward, clutching a sign that read, "Together we stand." It was simple, but it resonated, sparking whispers of approval from the crowd. Jack felt the pulse of a living, breathing entity, one that was too powerful to ignore. Yet even as the excitement grew, Jack glanced at Andrew, who had retreated to the shadows. The man was plotting. He could almost see the gears turning in his mind behind that smug facade. Jack's heart sank. With every move they made, Andrew would respond. This was only the beginning of the game, and the stakes were high. Are you ready for this? Emily murmured, her brow furrowing as they watched the rally take shape. Jack took a deep breath, his chest tight with anticipation. No matter what happens, we'll face it together. We have something he can't take away. Emily met his gaze, a shared flame igniting between them. And in that moment, Jack understood that sacrifice wasn't just about what they could lose, but what they could gain through their collective strength. As the sun began to dip low, casting a golden hue over their makeshift rally, Jack couldn't shake the feeling that they were just scratching the surface. What if this movement really could change things? What if their voices could shake the very foundations of Andrew's world? But questions hung in the cool evening air. When the rally began, would they stand united or falter under pressure? As the call to gather rose and the first chants broke out, a new resolve settled into Jack's bones. They weren't just fighting for survival. They were fighting for a legacy, one that would ripple through generations. And with that thought fueling him, Jack braced himself for the tumultuous journey ahead. The evening air hummed with anticipation as the crowd gathered, voices echoing off the buildings that had seen generations come and go. From the corner of his eye, Jack caught Emily rallying a group of children, encouraging them to draw their dreams on colored paper. Their laughter intertwined with the murmured hopes of their parents, creating a melody of unity that faded into the sunset. "Okay, everyone," Jack called, his voice attempting to rise above the din. "Let us come together. We need our stories, our voices." He looked around, seeing faces bright with determination mingled with a touch of apprehension. It was a patchwork of the community, old and young, the hopeful and the weary. He felt the weight of their aspirations. "Let us share what this town means to us," Emily added, her enthusiasm contagious. The crowd buzzed with energy, gradually forming small circles to discuss their stories and what they loved. Jack watched as they exchanged ideas, each tale a thread that wove them closer together. The atmosphere shifted, a palpable sense of purpose wrapping around them. A mother recounted the birth of her first child at the local hospital. A retired teacher shared stories of students who grew to lead in their own ways, and a teenager narrated her dream of becoming a vet to save as many animals as possible. Every voice mattered. Just then, a loud voice cut through the excitement. "You're wasting your time." Andrew's sneer sliced through the moment, drawing the crowd's attention like a sudden chill. He stood with a few supporters, arms crossed, wearing that smug expression that made Jack's blood boil. "Our town needs to evolve," Andrew continued, "not wallow in sentiment. Your nostalgia won't pay the bills or build a future. This is all farce." The cheers dimmed, worry flickering across familiar faces. Jack could see Emily breathing deeply, her forehead creasing with resolve. This was a test, and they needed to respond. "Together we stand," Jack shouted, finding his own voice rising above the apprehension. "We're not just rooted in nostalgia. We are the voices of progress. Yes, we cherish our history, but we're not trapped there. We're building a vision beyond what you see, Andrew." People nodded, eyes widening with renewed hope. Jack's heart quickened as he caught a glimpse of Emily, her expression fierce and passionate. In that moment, they were not just responding to Andrew. They were defining themselves. Suddenly, one brave young girl stepped forward, her sign trembling in her small hands. "I want to grow up in a town that believes in dreams," she declared. Her voice was small but held a thunderous weight. Giggles broke through, but she pressed on. "I don't want to leave. I want to stay and build, not watch it all disappear." Jack felt a fire ignite within him. This was the real heartbeat of the town, its children, their dreams, their hopes. But Andrew was not done yet. "You really think this will scare me? Your childish rally of dreams? It won't hold water when the real decisions are made." "Maybe it's time you listened," Jack shouted back, adrenaline surging through him. Their voices erupted around him, chants rising up like a powerful wave. Our future isn't up for debate. Despite his anger, Jack was uncertain. Would this rally make a difference against Andrew's established influence? Was it enough to rally the heart of the town, or would it tear them apart? He turned to Emily, their eyes locking in a moment filled with tension and determination. "This is just the beginning," he murmured, almost to himself. The chants grew louder, more fervent, empowering the crowd. Yet somewhere in the back of his mind, a nagging doubt clawed. How would Andrew retaliate? As the sun sank below the horizon, an urgent question remained: would their unity be strong enough to withstand the storm that Andrew was brewing? And with that uncertainty lingering, Jack felt the weight of their fight grow heavier. Jack felt the pulse of the crowd through the air, their united voices like the beating of a drum. Panic rippled through him. Andrew's words echoed in his mind, a stark reminder of the stakes they faced. What if he was right? What if their dreams were nothing but pretty pictures on paper, soon to be ignored? Emily stepped closer to Jack, her presence a calming force amidst the rising tide of uncertainty. "We can't give up now," she urged softly, her eyes steadfast and filled with resolve. "We need to show them that our dreams matter." Her words sparked a glimmer of hope in Jack's heart. The community around him was more than just bystanders. They were living, breathing dreams. Their stories were bricks in the foundation of a better future. And together, They could build something strong enough to stand against Andrew's disdain. Let us gather everyone's stories. Jack called out, his voice stronger now. We'll share them up on that wall. He pointed to the old brick wall at the edge of the plaza, plain and unadorned, waiting for life. More children joined Emily, their eager faces lighting up. Can we paint it? A little boy shouted, raising his hand as if he were in a classroom. Yes. Jack winked. Let us paint a mural of our dreams. The crowd erupted into cheers, their spirits lifting as excitement replaced doubt. Jack felt a surge of energy wash over him. Maybe this was the turning point they needed as they set to work, drawing and sharing their stories. Jack moved through the crowd, soaking in the warmth of the moment. One by one, faces lit up in joy. Parents began to recount their own adventures. Farmers spoke of their bountiful harvests, and old friends reminisced about summer nights spent laughing under the stars. Jack felt pride swell in his chest. Each story added depth to the mural. Each laughter threaded hope into the tapestry of their town. Emily helped a group of teenagers as they mixed paint, their excitement contagious. He caught her infectious smile, and suddenly, the worry that had gnawed at him seemed to fade. They were building something beautiful together, rising against the bitter chill brought by Andrew's words. But then, a shadow moved across the sun, and Jack turned to see Andrew and his supporters looming again. This is ridiculous, Andrew barked, waving a dismissive hand at the mural in progress. Do you really think some childish drawings will change anything? The crowd fell silent, doubt creeping in again. Jack's heart raced. We're not just drawing. We're sharing who we are. He shot back, his voice trembling. This is our identity. Andrew sneered, leaning in as if to intimidate. Identity 1T keep you warm at night. His words hung heavy, filling the air with tension. Jack felt a pang of fear, weighing on his shoulders. What if Andrew managed to tear them apart with his cynicism? But before he could waver, he glanced at Emily, her expression fierce with determination. Then let us make sure our identity shines brighter than his negativity. She shouted to the crowd, her voice ringing clear and unwavering. Encouraged by her strength, the people began to murmur fiercely, exchanging glances filled with resolve. Jack understood now. This wasn't just about survival, it was about standing together. They needed to show Andrew what their town truly represented. As the sun began to dip below the horizon, painting the sky in brilliant hues of orange and red, a shared sense of purpose surged through the crowd. The chants rose again, a tidal wave of strength pushing back against the fear. But as the colors blended in the sky, a shadow loomed nearer. Jack turned to see Andrew pulling out a piece of paper, a document he was sure would shake everything they had built. The crowd hushed, breaths caught in their throats. Jack's stomach churned with unease. What was in that paper? And as Andrew smirked and unfolded it, malignant intent radiating from him, Jack knew their biggest challenge was just beginning. Would their unity withstand the storm? The air was thick with anticipation as Andrew spread the paper wide, his smirk an unsettling reminder of the power he thought he wielded. Jack's pulse quickened, dread pooling in his stomach as the crowd's anxiety mirrored his own. Silence hung heavily after Andrew's declaration, a pause that made every heartbeat feel like a loud drum echoing in Jack's ears. This, Andrew began, waving the document like a trophy, is an official notice for the demolition of this plaza and everything within it. The clamor from the crowd erupted, a cacophony of disbelief and outrage. Jack's heart sank. No way, we won't let you, shouted a woman from the back, her voice breaking the silence. Others soon joined, their voices rising to meet the threat. But Andrew just seemed to revel in their anguish. Legalities aren't just pretty pictures, folks, he sneered. You can't paint over the truth. The developers will come, and they'll bulldoze this place, and your dreams with it. He rolled the notice in a mocking fashion, looking at the crowd with an air of superiority. Something shifted within Jack. Fear began to twist, turning into a solid resolve. He could feel Emily's presence beside him. She stood strong, not backing down, her determination urging him forward. We haven't given up yet, Jack shouted, stepping closer to Andrew, his voice strong against the tide of despair. "We're not just going to roll over and let you wipe away our identity." Andrew raised an eyebrow, intrigued by Jack's sudden bravery. "And what exactly do you think you'll do? Fight me with your crayons and paintbrushes?" Jack scanned the crowd, remembering each story shared, every laugh exchanged, every hope ignited on that brick wall. That wasn't just paint. It was the soul of their community. "You think we're just going to stand by?" he continued, bolstered by a swell of energy from the crowd. "Look around. We are more than dreams on paper. We're family. We fight for each other." The crowd began to nod, rallying around his words. "And if you want to take this place away, you'll have to go through us," Emily shouted, her voice ringing through the air like a battle cry. The crowd cheered, growing in strength, their voices climbing louder and louder. Jack's heart surged as excitement bubbled through him again. He felt the power of unity wrapping around him like a warm embrace, lifting him higher to face Andrew's sneer. But Andrew's expression shifted, a calculating glint appearing in his eyes. "This could get ugly," he warned threateningly. Jack felt a chill slide down his spine. What exactly did Andrew mean? Would he resort to underhanded tactics to make his threats a reality? As the cheers continued, Jack turned to the wall, seeing colors pouring onto the surface, brightening hopelessness into something vibrant and collectively beautiful. What if we band together? Jack pondered aloud. What if we not only paint our stories, but we also protect them? Emily stepped closer, a look of realization dawning on her. "What are you thinking?" Jack took a deep breath, inspiration sparking in his heart. "What if we turn this into a movement? A fight for our home, for our voice? What if we make them see what they're really tearing down?" The crowd quieted again, intrigued, but uncertain. It would require much more than just art. It would take courage, determination, and unity. Jack glanced back at Andrew, who was watching with disdain, but something changed in him too. Doubt crept into Jack's mind. Could they really stand against the power of a legal notice? Should they risk everything to fight for their dreams? The spark of hope remained, ignited by Emily's gaze, her unwavering belief in their togetherness. Jack felt encouraged by it. What could they accomplish if they truly believed in what they created? As the sun set lower, painting the sky in deeper hues, Jack felt the weight of his next words. "Together, we must stand together. We can show them just how powerful our hearts can be." But even as he spoke, another thought nagged at him. What if they failed? What if this was the moment? Everything fell apart? As Andrew eyed them, his lips curling into an ominous smile, Jack feared they were standing at the edge of a cliff, poised to take a leap of faith. But would they soar together or crash with their dreams? The wind shifted, and Jack could feel that they were on the cusp of something huge. But what would be required to truly challenge Andrew's threat? The uncertainty hung in the air, ripe with tension as they faced the moment that would change everything. The rally began to shift, a palpable energy buzzing in the air. Jack's heart raced as he stood among his neighbors, a vivid tapestry of emotions swirling around him. The kids held their signs high, colorful dreams penned on paper fluttering like flags of defiance. They were proud. They wouldn't be silenced. Andrew, with his cold demeanor, took a step closer. "You really think you can sway the tide with your quaint little movement?" He sneered, but Jack could sense the cracks in Andrew's armor. The crowd was a force, and they were ready to fight. "Yes," Jack shouted, feeling the truth of his conviction ignite every word. "This isn't just about a plaza. It's about our future, about a job for the people we love." The onlookers roared with support. Jack felt their shared determination envelop him like a warm embrace. His chest expanded with pride. They were a family, ready to stand against anything. "We are more than just a place. We are warriors of hope." He glanced at Emily, her fierce eyes locking with his, an unspoken promise passing between them. Together they could inspire action. "We cannot let fear win," she said, her voice trembling with emotion. "Let us take these stories, our lives, out to the world. With renewed vigor, the crowd began organizing. They formed teams, each one set to paint, write, and share their stories. Jack felt a weight lift from his shoulders. A sense of purpose was finally within reach. They worked late into the night, laughter blending with paintbrush strokes and shared prayers for their dreams to take root. Meanwhile, Andrew lingered nearby, frustration boiling beneath his composed exterior. "These antics are futile," he remarked to his allies, frustration coloring his voice. But time and again, it became abundantly clear that no matter his jeers, the spirit of the community only grew stronger. Just as the morning sun peeked over the horizon, Jack stood back to admire the mural. It came alive, reflecting every journey, every dream, the history of struggle, love, and resilience painted in vibrant colors. It was more than art. It was their collective heartbeats splashed across the wall like an explosion of hope against the starkness of Andrew's intent. "Today is the day," Emily proclaimed. "Let us unveil our mural and show our community to the world." As the gathered crowd prepared, their spirits soared. News outlets had caught wind of their movement, and media representatives began to roll in. The plaza, their sacred ground, was now buzzing with cameras and eager voices, capturing the beauty of their unity. They stood together not as separate individuals, but as one united front as they unveiled the mural. Shocked gasps turned to applause, and then the power of resolved cheering filled the air. Jack felt the rippling energy pass through him as he spotted Andrew lurking at the edges, scowling deeply, but it only strengthened his resolve. "This," Jack exclaimed, raising his arms high, "is what we stand for. We are not just voices lost in the wind. We are a community. We may be challenged, but we will never back down." The crowd erupted, and suddenly there was a new power in their voices. Hope boomed, raised in solidarity. Jack saw it. The momentum wasn't just against Andrew's threats. It was for their future. But as the cheers crescendoed, Jack's heart raced. Would this newfound power be enough? Standing with Emily and their friends, he felt the strength that came from unity, and it ignited a fire within him. They would make their dreams reality. And then everything hung suspended as a true turning point approached. The elites fired back. Andrew stepped forward, a steely determination glinting in his eyes. "Enough of this," he shouted. "This is an illegal occupation. You will all face the consequences." Jack's throat tightened, but he couldn't back down. "You can't silence us," he retorted fiercely. "Not now. Not ever." The crowd rallied around him, voices united and powerful, drowning out Andrew's threats. For every word he spit, they countered with dreams and hopes. It became clear. They were a force to be reckoned with. In that moment, under the brilliant sunrise and the vibrancy of their mural, Jack realized this was exactly the change they craved. They could build together and reclaim what was theirs. They were not just fighting for survival. They were building a legacy. And as they turned back to face their detractors, the weight of uncertainty faded into an unshakable strength. Jack knew they would face the storms together, united in purpose. "Today is the day we rise," he cried, and the crowd echoed his courage, shaking the very ground beneath their feet. The power of community shone bright, ready to push back against any darkness. At that moment, Jack felt joy wash over him. They were indeed unstoppable. Hope blossomed within their hearts, spurring them onward. Together they stood, shoulders lifted against the weight of fear, preparing to change their future one courageous act at a time. So, with hearts ablaze and dreams soaring, they stepped boldly into the dawn of their new chapter. Your turn now. This is your moment to show your support. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories that will inspire and uplift. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and keep the energy flowing. Comment your reactions and feelings about this powerful ending. We want to hear you. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. You need to spread the word and let your community know that together, we can achieve greatness. Don't wait not even one more second to share.